Welcome back to Gary's Economics. Today we're going to talk about Jeremy Hunt and his Black Swan events. Okay, so for those who don't know, Jeremy Hunt is the new Chancellor of the United Kingdom. He's the guy in charge of your economy. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Hunt. One of the first videos we ever put up on the channel explained how Jeremy Hunt is able to buy houses without paying stamp duty because he buys them 7 at a time, and there's a special exclusion in stamp duty for anyone who buys more than 7 houses at once. So he's a very wise man. He's very good with his taxes. But today we're going to talk about Jeremy Hunt's recent speech that he gave. So obviously, as you know, the UK economy is in a bit of a mess. There's a lot of problems, a lot of big problems for ordinary people, and Jeremy Hunt's talking about how he's going to fix it. And I watched the speech here in the morning, and it was largely a lot of empty platitudes, not particularly important. But there was one line which really caught my attention as I was playing in the background. And it's where he said that in the last 10 years, we've been faced by a string of black swan events in the economy. So a black swan in economics is basically a very rare event. Black swans is very rare, so black swan events are not supposed to happen very often. And this idea that the reason the economy is weak is because we keep getting hit by a string of bad luck, basically, is it's a little bit triggering for me, because my history, for those who know on the channel, is I was a trader for a long time, and I spent a lot of time betting that the economy would be very weak, and those bets continue to be right year after year, and the economy has continued to be weak year after year. And if you ask many economists why the economy has been weak in the last 10, 15 years, what they would often say is this, basically. We've been faced by a string of very unlucky things that happened. First, we had the 2008 financial crisis. Then we had the 2011 sovereign debt crisis. Then we had COVID. Now we've had the Ukraine war, and bad things keep happening, and that's why the economy keeps getting worse and worse. And I think it's very problematic when the people who are in charge of your economy, when the economy continually has very bad outcomes for poor and ordinary people and very good outcomes for very wealthy people like Jeremy Hunt, who is himself a very, very wealthy man, when they say the reason this happens is just because we keep being phenomenally unlucky. Like, imagine if you had a doctor who every single patient that went to him died, and when you asked him, why do all your patients die? What he said was, well, I keep just being really unlucky and getting really, really sick patients, and there's nothing we can do. I think that this is a line which we are going to hear a lot from economists and politicians, which is that there's nothing that can be done because we keep being unlucky. And it's important to understand that what has happened in the last 10, 15 years, especially in the last 3, 4 years since COVID, was in no way unpredictable or unexpected. So in Jeremy Hunt, we have a man here who is very wealthy, has been part of a government which has presided over the largest and fastest ever increase in inequality in the history of the country. He himself has no doubt benefited massively. The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has benefited massively. And when he's confronted with the question of why has the economy been bad, he says, well, we just keep getting black swan events. We keep getting unlucky things happening. And there's no recognition, there's no acknowledgement of this structural problem, which is that inequality keeps getting worse and worse. And the problem is they can keep making this argument again and again, right? The economy will get worse and worse. It will get worse in predictable ways because the rich have got richer. They'll use that money to buy the assets from the middle class. The middle class will get poorer. That means less spending power in the economy. That means lower wages. That means poorer living standards for ordinary people. All of these things are super predictable, but they can always be blamed on the events that happen at any given time. So there's no doubt that when things get worse and worse, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, and it could even be a Labour government by then, they will turn around to whatever happens to be the most recent news story and say it was because of that thing that happened. And the only way that you, ordinary people, can defend yourself against that is to understand what is actually happening, which is that we have a structural worsening crisis of inequality that will lead to predictable, understandable bad outcomes. I will keep telling you what will happen, just as I did from the beginning of COVID. And you need to be prepared to throw this stuff back in the face of politicians like Jeremy Hunt, basically. Don't let them tell you that the reason that they keep getting richer and richer and you keep getting poorer and poorer is because you're just phenomenally unlucky. This is a system which, as it is set up now, is guaranteed to drive ordinary families into poverty, and you need to fight back to stop it from happening. So, yeah, don't accept nonsense from Jeremy Hunt and his best mate, Rishi Sunak. They're making a fortune. It's just ordinary people that are not. So, yeah, to Jeremy Hunt and his Black Swan events. Good luck.
Because we are draining the resources of this economy and giving it to the super rich who do not pay any tax.
Yeah, he's my boy, man. He's my boy. I like to see a billionaire just take the mask off for once and just directly rob everyone. Yeah.